I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Simsbury Board of Education to order. Today is May 13, 2014. And with that, we have some very special recognitions this evening. And I will start with you.
We do. A full house, too, so that is great.
Absolutely.
Before we get to the student artwork, which I think is why we have the largest turnout this evening, I would like to introduce Angela Griffin, who is our Director of Music and Performing Arts, and she is here to recognize Carol Tuhig, who is our wonderful assistant to the Music and Performing Arts Department, for an award that she has been nominated for. And Angela, I'm going to turn that over to you, and you can give a little background on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask her to come up to join me. Carol Tuhig is the Simsbury Music and Arts Department Secretary. She has been for the past 9 years. And she also has transitioned 3 music supervisors, including myself, Rich Wells, Prince Drenberg, and myself, into a very challenging position. And I have been extremely impressed with her level of professionalism and her dedication to this position and to the children of Simsbury for their arts and their commitment. In speaking with Cindy Parsons and with Cindy Rim, we are members of the Connecticut Arts Administrators Association, which is an association that annually recognizes individuals who have contributed and been arts advocates. And sometimes those individuals are people that you hear very little about. Our teachers are people and faces that you see regularly, our students. But Carol is an unsung hero who is behind the scenes, making a great deal of what you see happen become a reality for our students and our children. I know firsthand from my previous position just how critical this position is for the music department and for advocating for the visual art department here in Simsbury. So she will be recognized formally by the Connecticut Arts Administrators Association on Friday, where I will read a very lengthy bio about all of her attributes. But for tonight, I've done the best that I could to kind of compose and compile some of the statements from her colleagues and from myself, including Cindy Parsons. Cindy, you should be over here as well. Cindy was the head of our visual arts department. Cindy Rem could not be here tonight, but she was a former visual arts supervisor, and she is the supervisor of Simsbury Arts Academy. Carol does a great deal of work for them as well. And speaking with Neil Sullivan, principal of Simsbury High School, I've been able to kind of compose just a few things about Carol that I'd like to share with you, and just how she really, she's very unassuming, as you can see. It's hard for her to stand here, but we would be remiss if we didn't recognize her. And I know our district prides herself on recognizing contributions of others, and Carol is someone that definitely should be recognized. So, a few words I'd like to say about her. She is a master coordinator, including the events, ordering, keeping track of the budget, and multiple other things that happen in our department. She is deeply artistic in her own right, including being a master weaver, and she has gone into classrooms in Simsbury and shared about her experiences and her talent with students in the Simsbury art department. As I said before, she's transitioned 3 music supervisors. This is not an easy task to do. She is also the creator and designer of the Ovation newsletter that you read. Her graphic design is absolutely gorgeous. She is truly an artist in her own, a visual artist as well in her own right. She has an appreciation for the arts and what it brings to the students. And typically when we're speaking or communicating or meeting with Carol about anything and everything, in which she has the history of all of it, she makes sure that she communicates with us about the impact that we'll have on the students, and she's definitely a deeply valued and committed member of our team. I would also like to add that because of her incredible collaborative spirit and her professional relationships that she has built with vendors outside of our district, she has literally saved our district thousands and thousands of dollars. If you don't have someone that has a positive relationship with these vendors, they charge you an incredible amount of money, and Carol is a consummate professional in dealing with them. She is also the calm voice in our artistic departments. She is always the voice of reason, and she's actually someone that many of our teachers look up to as a mentor as well. We're deeply appreciative of her. Just a few words to describe Carol. I asked for some quotes, which I will put in Ovation, and they will also be spoken at the event on Friday where she will be recognized. A few of the words that were spoken about Carol were grace, invaluable, incredible resource, going above and beyond, extremely organized, dedicated, never gives up, and a lifelong learner in the arts. Carol, on behalf of the Connecticut Arts Administrators Association, Cindy Parsons and I are here to represent the arts administrators from around the state of Connecticut. This award is presented to you, Carol Twohig, for being a devoted advocate and an outstanding supporter of the music, art, and theater programs of the Simsbury Public School District and the Simsbury arts community at large, recognized in May of 2014 by the Connecticut Arts Administrators Association. We greatly appreciate you and value for all that you do.
Great honor, unexpected. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Carol, for all you do.
Congratulations.
Very well deserved. Congratulations. Very good. So, great. All right. We are now on to our next recognition, and this is a very exciting time because this is once a year. The board gets to partake in this
That's right.
recognition.
I'd
So.
like to welcome all the students and parents, visitors tonight to help us celebrate the new permanent exhibit, which will be up for 2 years. And everyone should enjoy as they come to these meetings and your events here in Connecticut. So that being said, I think everybody else is going to do
Right. So,
We're just going to move out of the way.
absolutely. You all have your folders in front of you, and so we'll start with Tara and then just work around.
Yep.
Hi, I think my first student that I'm recognizing is Ava McGann. And a certificate. Do you want to explain a little bit about your painting? Where do you go to school? And what grade are you in? You're in first grade at Latimer Lane, and she did a beautiful painting here that we will enjoy for a long time. It's bright and cheery. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Elise Abbott. Elise? Congratulations. It's a beautiful painting. And this is your certificate. And this is your pin. And do you want to tell everyone what school you go to, what grade you're in, and what your paintings are called?
I go to Squadron Line and I'm in 5th grade. And this is a giant shoe, as you can see.
In some sort of beautiful valley, right?
Yeah, it's in
Kingdom?
Wizard of Oz.
Great idea. Yellow Brick Road. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
It's my turn next, I guess. We don't get to do very many things that are fun on the Board of Ed. I think this is one of them. So can I get Anna Call? Is Anna here tonight? Did I get your name pronounced correctly? Call? Good. And Anna, would you like to just tell everybody what school you go to, what grade you're in?
I go to Squadron Line and I'm in 4th grade.
Squadron Line in the 4th grade. And who's your art teacher?
Mrs. Foley.
Well, she's done a great job. This is beautiful. Do you want to tell people what that's about, what you're thinking of?
Swirls?
The world swirl, yeah. That's very well done. We'll start the bidding here in a couple of minutes. That's great. You did a wonderful job. I have a pin for you, and I almost forgot.
Budget's not closed.
That's right. Got those. So here's your certificate.
Yeah.
You did such a great
Yeah.
job. And there you go, and there's your pin. You get to. I was going to keep that. I like that a lot. That was great. Well, you did very, very well. Good job. And is Brittany Ashmore here tonight? Oh, there you are. Good. Come on up. So we'll get to you to talk about your painting here in a minute, but what school do you go to? You're at high school?
Yep.
At the high school?
Simsbury High.
What grade?
10th.
Now, are you going to go on to art after high school, do you
I
think?
planned on it.
Oh, you do? Good for you. Well, that's great. Well, this will be up until you're through school, I guess. And who's your art teacher?
Mr. Holzman.
Mr. Holzman. Good. Well, you've done a great job. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about it?
It's an expressive self-portrait, and these two mean love and compassion and curiosity, and that's just because they're my favorite colors.
Oh, that's great. Well, you really thought that out. You did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
Great work. Congratulations. There's your pin. And there's your certificate. Terrific
you.
job. Good work.
Here.
Here.
I'm right here. Okay, Brenna Sullivan. Where are you, Brenna? Come on up. Hello, Brenna.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
And Brenna, tell us a little about yourself.
I am a senior at Simsbury High School,
Mhm.
and this is
And who is your art teacher?
my art teacher is Miss Gagne,
Okay.
and this is a fused glass necklace that I made, and all the components have been soldered together, and they have soldered wire to make the closures on it.
Very nice, very nice. That's
Very
something
well
that
done.
if we were up for bidding here, I would
Yeah.
be bidding on necklace. I have an outfit just for that necklace, actually for all of those. So very good, Brenna. And I will give you. Well, this is wonderful. And what are you doing next year, Brenna?
I'm double majoring in art and communications at University of Rhode Island.
Wow, very good. Well, congratulations. This is wonderful. Let me shake your hand and good luck with school next year. So this is for you. And also, we have a pin for you.
Thank you.
Not quite as nice as your, as your necklace, but do wear it in good health. Great,
you.
thank you. Now, we have Kate Sue. Is she here? Did I pronounce it correctly or not? Shu. Oh, I should. Oh, my Chinese is a little rusty here. Welcome, Kate. And tell us a little about yourself.
I go to Central School and I'm in 6th grade.
And who is your art teacher?
Mrs. Kelleher.
Very good.
Just took the picture.
Oh, there you are, Ms. Keller.
Let me take another one.
Absolutely. Look at your teacher.
Oh, much better.
Very good, very good. So, tell us about this.
These are just some objects that Mrs. Kelleher let us draw.
All right. Any particular object in here that is a favorite of yours?
I like the duck the best.
You do. Well, I kind of like the frog, but then the snowman, the tulips. I do have a place at home for this if there is bidding, absolutely.
I'm
so.
surprised you didn't pick the cell phone. I would have
And
guessed.
actually, on that, well, you know, I kind of like going more for the artistic pieces over here. Anyway, it's very, very lovely. So, and this is for you, Kate.
Thank you.
All right, and I have a special pin for you. Very good. Thank you.
So this is by Eva Selby. Eva, come on up, who is in 2nd grade at Terriffill, right? Eva, who's your teacher?
Our teacher,
Yes.
Mr. Arby.
Okay. And what was the thought to this picture?
It's just kind of a mixed up face with a whole bunch of shapes.
All right. I'm glad you defined it as a mixed up face, because it is. All right, here you go. Your certificate, as well as your pin, and congratulations.
The one I recognize is Regina Caggiano, but I don't believe she's here. If she is, all right, I'm going to leave that with Katie. There we go. Next one is Ellie Kopp. Come on up here, Ellie. Tell us a little about your name and where you go. Sorry?
I go to Tedone and our teacher's name is
Tell us a little about your painting. Picture.
It's a flower.
Yeah? Is art your favorite class? You want to be an artist someday? There you go. Do that. That's for you, and that's for you as well. Congratulations.
So Sean Irwin here. Hey Sean, how you doing? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your grade you're in.
Well, I'm a junior in Simsbury High School. I have two wonderful art teachers, Miss Theosia and Miss Parsons, who's hiding somewhere over there. And well, this started out as a portfolio piece, and it's basically a reflection on something that I've pretty much experienced my whole life. I'm colorblind, and basically it's all my creations colorblind, in color, with the rest of the world. Black in color, so it's pretty self-explanatory.
Very cool.
It's very cool.
Congratulations.
And last
last but certainly not least, Catherine Schmitz.
I'm her mother.
You're her mother. You're her representative tonight.
She couldn't be here.
Lovely. Your daughter should be very proud of her work. So I will give you her pin and her certificate.
Great, thank you.
And thank you for coming tonight.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Say thank you to all the teachers that were here.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Wonderful celebration of our department and of our town and the support that everybody gives us.
Cindy, I would just say I think it speaks to the overall value we all see in the arts, and I know that we just finished up a busy season for all your teachers and students with our art shows at each of the
We're kind of
In the middle of it, in the middle of it.
in the middle of that. So, I mean, it's a very important part of our overall programming and the learning experiences we provide for students. So thank you, parents, for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
And students as well. You should be very proud of your work, and we will not make you stay for the rest of the meeting.
Wonderful night.
Have a nice night. Thank you.
Thank you. I heard a little cheer.
Thank you.
Have a good meeting.
Yes.
I have to go tomorrow. Yeah. I hope it's tomorrow night. I can't go tonight.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm busy.
Yes, you know what?
I just want to let you know that it's hanging upside down.
Gee.
It's supposed to be the other way.
Is it really?
Is it?
Okay, that's good for us to know, Brett.
I'm a little nervous. Do you want to try to change it? You've got a second, but we'll let you try instead of me. Do you want a picture of yourself with it?
Back in maybe and help us to.
No, we're doing it now. We're doing it now.
Usually,
Because of the hanger.
We can't do it now.
We'll fix it. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? Come back at some afternoon when we hang it right, and you can take your picture with it and not
There you go.
and make us look better.
It was our artistic interpretation. Did you get a picture of it?
No, she wants her picture in front of it when it actually
There
is
you
correct.
go.
Thank you.
She'll come back. That is too bad, but it can be fixed. It's for here for 2 years. It'll be correct for 99% of the time.
It's great.
I'm glad she had the guts to tell you.
Yes.
No, they'll have to come back. They can come back. They should tell, the teacher should send an email to all of them saying.
This one's upside down. Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Anytime it's open. Yeah. Except when it's not.
Great. Very nice.
Very nice. Beautiful art.
It's great.
It's fun to hear the stories behind it.
Really interesting when the kids explain. In her painting with the two.
Brave souls left. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Hello.
Hey, we got a
Lydia.
meeting going on.
Come on.
Lydia said I should make my coffee.
You give them a
Give them an inch, they take a mile.
Okay, we are
Public art.
all set. All right, continuing on to public audience. And
We could do
all
that.
set.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got that. All right. Anyone wishing to address
Oh, we have
the
public
board?
audience.
May do so. Please state your name and your address.
Just because tonight is the art show, I just want to thank everyone who did this and also to let the public know and this board, although you probably already know, that we are doing Senior Citizen Art Night at the high school, and we're inviting seniors to the high school to tour the art show, and it's always our best attended event. So we want to thank the Board of Ed and the schools for co-hosting that with the
Date
town.
and time?
May 28th at 5:30.
May
If you do, we are so close to capacity, so if you want to go, you need to call immediately and make a reservation, because we're almost at.
Absolutely, May 28th at 5 p.m. Great. Thank you, Lisa. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Righty, seeing none, we will move on to our student rep, Patrick.
Thank
Welcome
you.
back. How you feeling?
Good, how are you?
How are the teeth?
They're fine. So we're midway through the fourth quarter at Simsbury High School, which means AP testing is upon us. We had AP tests starting last Monday. They're going to wrap up this Friday, so that'll be a lot less tension for the students that are taking them. We're also starting our end of the year activities, so to speak. We have junior prom is this weekend, and then you just heard we have the art show coming up soon as well. A lot of you have probably heard the seniors Water Wars game has started, and I'd like to assure you it's being run responsibly. The students in charge talked with Officer Chase, and the rules are set up to protect both the players and Simsbury residents. So that's something that students are very excited about. It's a lot of fun, and if it's done the right way, which it is being done, it's a good event. Spring sports are continuing. We're going to have our playoffs and state tournaments are coming up soon. We had a big track meet at the high school on Saturday, the Greater Hartford Invitational, and at that meet, senior Will Rice set a new school record in the 400, so that was exciting for students.
Great.
Very good. All righty. So, and the Water Wars is a Simsbury High School tradition.
Yes.
Many years. So, very good. Thank you, Patrick. Susan.
I just wanted to share that on Friday, May 2nd, I believe it was. I was part of Junior Achievement for the second time at Tarrafil School. And again, a wonderful day. Huge thanks to Simsbury Bank for co-hosting that with us. I was there along with many of the bank employees. They really go all out. We fill every classroom in Tarrafil School. And they get members from the community. Mike Payne was there, Cheryl Cook was there as well. And it was just a terrific day. I had Mrs. Sullivan's first grade class. We had a great time. The kids could not have been more respectful. They were terrific. They participated. And you heard it in the lunchroom. We got to go to the teacher's lounge for lunch. And everybody in there was blown away by the kids and their interactions and the positivity that came out of that day. Just a great event, and really huge thanks to Simsbury Bank for helping us with that. And again, Scott Baker, always great host. The whole school was terrific, so it was a lot of fun.
Good. Great to hear. Tom.
No, nothing for me, Lydia.
All set?
Chris.
Nothing, Lydia.
Mike.
Nothing tonight, thanks, Lydia.
Tara.
I'm good, thanks.
Just an update on SBAC testing. We've finished the elementary. We finished 8th grade. 7th grade is in the middle of, 7th grade is in the middle of testing, and the high school testing will take place at the end of the month. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Great.
I had the great opportunity yesterday to meet with the 5th and 6th graders of Central School. And the reason for my meeting is they wanted to learn more and discuss some of their concerns around losing 2 fantastic 6th grade teachers to our reduction in force. And it was a great teachable moment that I got to speak with the 5th and 6th graders and clear up some misconceptions and how these decisions are made. But it was a great opportunity for them to appropriately share their voice and share their concerns and be heard as 5th and 6th grade leaders of Central Elementary School. So wanted to share that with the board. It was great.
Good. Just hear that our students will miss their teachers and think very highly of them.
They do. They absolutely do.
Burke.
Just two highlights from last Tuesday. We had our annual employee health fair that Terry Hines, our employee benefits coordinator, runs and organizes. It's a both town and Board of Education based event. It was held at Eno Hall again, and our active town and board staff as well as retirees were able to come and get a lot of questions answered. This year of particular note, we have the carrier consolidation where Cigna is going to be doing all of our plans, and we have some new plan options. So it was a very well received and well attended event. So I want to thank Terry and the other Board of Ed staff that helped out with that event, and town staff also. And then, of course, secondly, I just want to thank the voters for our positive budget referendum results for our operating and our capital budgets.
Yes. We are very thankful that it did pass, and we're on our way.
Yep. Just wanted to second that, Burke, and then thank board members as well about the budget development process. That certainly is one that takes many hours of planning and conversation, so I wanted to take the time to thank each member on this board for their input as we worked our way through that process, and certainly pleased we were able to put forward a budget that I think is meeting our needs and meeting the needs of the town as well. So couple things from the legislative update. I know, Lydia, you went this morning as well. I had an update last week at my area superintendent's meeting. Pretty quiet session in the legislature as it pertains to education. A couple things that were being talked about quite a bit are the regional calendar, the movement towards a potential regional calendar. They have bumped that out for one more year, but till 2016, till we need to really think about that. So I know, Lydia, you're part of a committee that is looking at how we can get there. The other is from the Office of Early Childhood that is talking about the starting age for kindergarten again. That's been getting quite a bit of press recently, moving the date potentially from a January 1 date to an October 1 date, which is much more consistent with what is done nationally. That did not pass, but what passed is legislation that mandates the State Department creates a plan to analyze that date. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but I think
It sounds expensive.
I do think it's a topic that's here to stay, and it wouldn't surprise me in the next year or so if we see movement in that starting date.
Right.
So I don't know if you have anything to add
Yeah,
to that,
actually,
Lydia. I know you were
on
there
that
today.
one, today we had the CAVE legislative update, from the General Assembly of what's going to be affecting our districts, all our districts in the state, and about the funding. But going back to dovetailing on that about the K entry, the proposed K entry, the development plan will be taking place, and they hope to have that before the Ed Committee, of October 2015. So it will be a year from now, but it's something that they're going to be looking at. Of course, this has been bounced around for years and years, and Connecticut is one of, I believe, 3 states that have still have that late start date. But the bills that did pass today that passed the House and Senate, and you may have heard of many of these, and these will all be taking place, was the act concerning the youth athletics and concussions, storage and administration of epinephrine at public schools, obviously the regional school calendar, which has been pushed out another year, act concerning school safety, domestic violence and sexual assault, which is known as the teen dating violence. The budget has passed, and the towns have now been awarded the ECS grants, and the magnet schools have been awarded $10.4 million in the appropriation for this year. So more to come on that. Again, the authorizing adjusting bonds for state and capital improvements, and in other purposes, and in that Common Core is being awarded $10 million, CHEF $17.4 million. Again, back to school security infrastructure grant program. And an interesting one, which you may not have heard about, but the act concerning sudden cardiac arrest prevention. And CAS and CAAC will be working with coaches and trainers on that. And so that's really about it. School building projects on that one. But other acts and things that have been that will be coming down is expungement of student suspensions and expulsions, and you'll be happy to know the history of organized labor died in Senate, so that will not be another mandate in the curriculum piece of it. And there is no change to charter school funding as of this year. So again, those that did not pass will most likely be coming back next year. The task force that are still continuing. As you know, there are task forces, but Common Core Task Force is still meeting weekly, and they will be coming back hopefully by summertime with the results of their plan. School security infrastructure, the Moore Commission, and of course the State Department has their special ed task force, and on top of another task force. So that's it, and that's really the update and what has happened and what's going to be taking place in next school year. But again, once this session is done, many of those will be coming back, to be revisited, come January. So, all righty. With that, we'll move on. If you have any questions on any of these are all on the K website. You can send everything else out, and very good. And Burke has all the information on all the ECS that's coming through. All right. Which I know you have it readily available. All right, we now move on to recommended actions, Exhibit 1 in your packet, listen to me. On your screen, approval of minutes of April 22nd meeting. Do I hear a motion?
No problem.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Exhibit 2, personnel.
I have one personnel consideration for the board this evening, and that's the upcoming retirement of Mrs. Joanne Mitchell. Mrs. Mitchell is a teacher at Latimer Lane School and has been with Simsbury Public Schools for 29 years, and she has expressed her want to retire at the end of this school year. So I would recommend to the Board of Education to move and accept the retirement of Joanne Mitchell effective June 30th, 2014.
Do I have a second? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you for your long years of service. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Lucky to have you.
Absolutely. Very, very nice. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. On Exhibit 3, adoption of healthy food and beverage for 2014-15.
Mr. LaClair.
Okay. Well, this is an annual certification that you may recall is required, and it all stemmed from the State Act on Healthy Food and Beverages from 2006. And on an annual basis, we need to certify that we're compliant with that. Our Nutrition Services Director, Dana Tice, has done a very good job of helping to make sure that all of our schools and principals are familiar with the Act and where the exceptions are and what is covered. And we would estimate that we would be reimbursed $20,840 in the upcoming year for this. The national standards are starting to catch up. Connecticut was a leader, so now that there's national standards that are getting to be very similar, so we're certainly used to what this means to us. And at the in your packet, there is a just slightly different motion that we're asking you to consider this evening, and it basically every place where the food is mentioned, it just also adds food and beverages in that motion. That is the only. That's in the folder. The only difference. It just says revised, and it's just the only difference is that motion. That's something that Dana was just at a seminar Friday that the state put on and realized that was one of those details that should be improved upon. So now we have that right in our annual motion. So I'd ask if you don't have any questions that you would recommend the certification. And the very last sentence of that motion, you see that what is excluded from it is food that's sold at events after the end of the regular school day or on weekends, and that is not sold from a school vending machine or a school store. So everything else we have to comply with the state regulations.
Okay, very good. Do I hear a motion? Thank you.
Read that.
Please.
Read it. Move that pursuant to Section 3 of Public Act 06-63, the Simsbury Board of Education hereby certifies that all food and beverage items offered for sale to students in the schools under our jurisdiction and not exempted from the nutrition standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education on August 1st, 2006, will meet said standards. Such certification shall include food and beverage not exempted from said nutrition standards and offered for sale to students at all times in all schools and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, and any fundraising activities on school premises, whether or not school sponsored. Excluded from this certification is food and beverage that is sold at events after the end of the regular school day or on weekends and not sold from a vending machine or school store.
Thank you, Mike. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. We are now on to Exhibit 4, the Ed Lowndes Memorial Scholarship.
Yes, I'd like to present tonight the Ed Lowndes Memorial Scholarship. As we do with all scholarships, it goes through the principal, director of guidance. We review it at the central office, and we do recommend approval of this scholarship. Ed Lowndes taught and coached in Simsbury Public Schools for close to 40 years. He taught PE at Henry James and coached football, golf, track, and field at Simsbury High School. He enjoyed sharing memories with many of his Simsbury High School students throughout his lifetime. Ed passed away last May 2013, and his family has established this scholarship in honor of his memory. There will be one scholarship in the amount of $2,500 to be awarded annually to a graduating senior beginning with the class of 2014. This scholarships will be awarded to a male or female graduating senior who is a B or C student with financial aid, who participates in any extracurricular activities, and who gives 150% effort. The successful applicant will be someone of good character who looks out for others or who has had to overcome difficulties such as bullying or family issues. The Lowndes family will be the family that will decide on the scholarship and will present the scholarship. I was told that Mary Kate Lowndes would be here tonight, but I'm not sure she is, and I'm not sure this gentleman on the back is related to this family. So, okay. So I would recommend that the board consider the acceptance of this scholarship.
Wholeheartedly move that one.
Second it, for sure.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I would just, as someone, there's several people in this room, I'm sure, who know Ed Lowndes really well. And I do, and I just look at the criteria of this, and I think it just speaks to him so perfectly for who he was as a person. And the only thing I just want to point out is, in addition to being a teacher in Simsbury for many, many years, during the summer, he headed up Camp Harkness special needs program. So he has an extensive also resume relative to working with students with special needs. So I just think he was a wonderful person. I think this captures him perfectly. And in the absence of a family member being here, I just wanted to make a few comments on his
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very nice. Very well put. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you to the Lowndes family. Very generous. All righty. Now we're on to our information and reports, Exhibit 5. We are now at the time that we are relooking at our Board of Ed 5-year goals and strategic plan.
Great. Thank you, Lydia. As you actually just mentioned, you teed that up perfectly. We work under, as you're familiar, a cycle of 5-year goals under a model of continuous improvement. So I thought I'd talk a little bit. I have 5 or 6 slides, a brief discussion about the process and how we got where we are today, and answer any questions that you have. And the board goals would be for consideration of adoption at our next Board of Ed meeting at the end of May. So as you recall, this process kind of kicked off several months ago when we had a collective workshop with board members and our entire administrative council. At that point, we looked at the strategic documents we had in place. So the graphic on the screen, and I know that that's in front of you on your computers there, really just walks us through a process that our administration went through several times, and that was looking at our current documents and kind of going through this, we call it a keep, stop, change, or an add, eliminate, change process of getting feedback from the people in the room and making refinements and adjustments and creating new. It's a process we actually repeated 6 to 7 times with our administrative council, also a group of teachers. We brought a group of about 30 teachers together. It was a great session, and it's feedback that I vetted through the PTO President's Group, which is a group I meet with every month. I did that 2 times, the last time just last week. So what we bring before you tonight is what's under that last column. We have a new draft of a vision statement, our core beliefs, draft goals. The goals are what we actually end up voting on and adopting, and a draft of improvement indicators. So I kind of present everything a bit as a package tonight, although what we vote on is the goals, just because I wanted to talk a little bit about the coherence and how things line up and kind of work off of each other. So these slides are pretty busy, so I'm not actually presenting the content on the slide, but just talking through what we have. So this is a working document where we have a consolidated vision statement. You see the core beliefs down the right-hand side of the document, and many of you will recall the document we started with had a lot of great, rich text and information in it, but our feedback was, how can we start to consolidate that information, make it a little more concise, and make it a more usable document in the end that represents what we believe in the Simsbury Public Schools. Also, the list of our new goals, we fit this on the document as well. We have an achievement goal, a goal certainly around professionalism that will be tied into the evaluation of both administrators and our professional certified staff. School culture, incredibly important. Communication, analyzing our practices both in how we push communication out but also gotten some great feedback from our board on re-looking at how we pull communication from our constituents and stakeholders. And then resources, how we plan moving forward in what have been difficult, challenging economic times to continue to improve, maintain the quality of our program, but do so in a responsible way. So that's a quick snapshot at those documents. This next document is really a look at how these link together. So we have 5 goals, which with each of those goals in the center column go what we call improvement indicators. So if you think about the goal being the what we want to accomplish, the indicator is more or less the how we're going to get there. And then the metric down the right-hand side are how we plan to measure our progress over this 5-year period and set targets. So in the end, we can come back, we can report our progress to the Board of Education, we can report our progress to our staff, to our parents, and we can collectively set goals within this process of continuous improvement. So a quick example would be Goal 1 around student achievement, which is a pretty encompassing goal. We talk about 3rd grade reading. This is a goal, an indicator similar to what we have in place now, but one that's really a landmark of achievement for students and indicative of their success later on. You look over to the far right, how would we measure that? We have 2 different metrics that are pretty reliable in district that we can look at and set targets on. So currently, we're in that refining stage right now with our administrative council on the metrics and the target setting. But I wanted to kind of show how these things link together in terms of the next step, which is to create action plans at the building level. But this is a visual, still a bit of a work in progress, but taking our vision and our set of core beliefs, putting them in the forefront in a visual way during presentations, in schools, to replace the current poster that we have now. We're still receiving some feedback on this, but I wanted to show some of the initial thought and some of the initial understanding, which was a little less words, a little more concise, but don't lose the importance of the content and the importance of the historical message of what has made us successful. And I think we're on our way to doing that. We've vetted this through many of the different forums as well. And the last slide, well, there are 2 more. This just brings to the forefront, again, the goals, because that in the end is what the board will vote upon. And I think we have a comprehensive set of goals that allows us to really kind of get in each of those goals at the different levels. We have K-12, analyze our improvement indicators, and then report out. So again, a student achievement goal, professionalism goal, resources, school culture, and communication. Next steps for us, once we formally adopt the goals, to really get with our administrators. We had a real productive meeting last week, refine those metrics to measure the improvement indicators. Then we take that and we develop what I know you're familiar with at this point, which is our district and school-based continuous improvement plans, which we set our work forth from. Setting growth targets and then communicating with both our staff. I see this communication taking place over the summer and then at convocation, kind of kicking these new things off, and then with our parent community as well to lay the groundwork for what our focus will be as a Board of Education and Administration over the course of the next several years. So that's it in a nutshell. I know it's a lot of information, but it's information you've been involved with along the way. So I didn't want to present it as new, but let you know where we are and answer any questions that you have about the process. This would be up on the docket the next time relative to the goals, to vote on the goals.
Good, very well done document, very much. I'll open up to any questions from the board.
Yeah, Matt, the slide that talks about kind of the condensation of the vision and the beliefs, can you spend a minute talking about kind of what you think you pulled out or how you condensed it? Because I remember kind of that workshop, there were a lot of good ideas.
Yep.
Put it around, talked around.
You're talking about this one, Tom, the actual visual?
This one here, this one. You know,
okay.
The vision kind of like, because, I just want to know kind of what you think, kind of what has changed here, if you will.
Sure.
Take that one for instance.
So I think when you go back to what our starting document was, when we created that at the time in the district, in the process, we pulled together multiple stakeholder groups. So we had a parent group, we had a teacher group, administrative group, and what we did is we almost created value statement and belief statements for each of those groups through their lens.
Okay.
When we looked at that in its entirety, what we had was a lot of great content, but a lot of overlap from different audiences. So our kind of what we were trying to get at from a synthesis standpoint was, what are those beliefs that transcend across everybody? Because if they're core beliefs, they should be our core beliefs for our students, our staff, and our parents. So I think when we re-looked at this, we really got at what the value of those things are and how they transcend across the different groups.
Other questions? All right. And we did have that very good meeting with DMC when we had that case. We were all present, I believe, so we all had much to contribute to. It was great to have that working relationship between administration, staff, and us. So, all right, very good. All right, so next meeting we'll be voting on this, as you know, this is every 5 years, and thank you very much for this very, very succinct presentation. It really is, it's great. Far cry from years ago. All righty, we'll move on to Exhibit 6, the McGowan gift.
Okay. I will kind of set this up a little bit. I wanted to go back where we left off at the last time we discussed this at the board level, and our takeaway as administration was to kind of set forth some filters, we call them, Chris, to use your terminology, I think, that would allow us to look at the various proposals in a way that would lead us down the path of decision making, you know, a framework to kind of bounce things off against. I think definitely we had some opinions on what felt like a good fit and maybe what didn't, but didn't have any real criteria to bounce those off of. So this is again a pretty concise, pretty brief presentation tonight. We went back collectively as a group, came up with a set of what we're calling filters or criteria, and then actually created a matrix with the different proposals. From our view, we recognize that it's our opinion only as an administration. It doesn't reflect the board's opinion of how we saw these things measuring up. So Erin was going to walk us through that, and we thought we would simply open it up to questions and conversation, and then we could take it from there. So I'm going to turn things over to Erin.
Certainly. So as we pulled together the filters and tried to put some explanation behind this, what I would like to just draw your attention to is that we identified 4 filters, and I'll explain those rather quickly. When we look at staying power, we're thinking about sustainability. Is this something that will last over time rather than a one-shot deal? So that was one filter that we wanted to put right up front. We also wanted to look at the notion of legacy. Does the gift provide lasting power to promote Ms. McGowan's legacy throughout the Simsbury Public Schools over time? We also thought very strongly about her elementary commitment and the fact that what the proposals entail, do they embed her commitment that she had to the elementary school students here in Simsbury? And then we asked the question, why this purpose? Is there a clear story where the idea came from and for what purpose that this gift will be used for? So those are the 4 filters that we put forth for consideration. To remind you, the 4 proposals that we spoke about at our board meeting at the end of March included the interactive learning commons, which were technology really settings in each of our libraries at the 5 elementary schools and Henry James, so we talked about those. And I do have supporting documentation, but I think you have that as well, so you've been able to look at that. We proposed scholarships for graduating seniors at Simsbury High School, 5 of them, 1 from each elementary school. We talked about a preschool, considerations for preschool, realigning that program and that configuration of the space. And the 4th one, a field house for Simsbury High School athletic fields. So those were the 4 proposals that we had brought forward back at a board meeting previously. So,
They flash, apparently.
Didn't know they were going to flash.
This is the second time you've done that to us, I'm just saying.
I want to make your point.
It's someone, it's a lot to take.
Graphic. We have to remember that the check marks flash in and out.
Just in case we didn't like them, right?
That's right.
Sorry.
No, that was just
Pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me.
You have to look at them, they change your position.
Just for thought.
That's right, they move around.
That took me off.
I'm getting hypnotized.
I'm sorry about
Yes,
that.
there
I don't
it
even
is.
know. I think if I see, I
Yes.
can't go forward. Sorry about that. I don't know what to do about that.
You just let it go.
So look at it where the
You're just showing off, we know.
so so let's just start with the interactive learning commons, and as we look at that straight across with the when the check marks are there. We do see that the filters for the learning commons really do fall and are apparent for the staying power, legacy, elementary commitment, and the purpose. For the Simsbury High School scholarships, we see the 4 filters as well pertaining to those as well. For the preschool considerations, the staying power, that's really more of a one-shot deal. Put the money into it, fix that, and didn't have that long sustainability component to it, but did fit the filters or the criteria for legacy, elementary commitment, and the purpose.
I would just add one piece on the preschool. If you go back to our conversation, we were a bit concerned with is just the state of preschool in general. The sustainability of our program as we have it with the infusion of magnet school preschool, which is full-day programming, which is of no charge to parents, and our ability to look at our program long-term and how that vision fits. And then coupled with the fact that we have a lot of conversations going on right now about our own decline in enrollment, how that'll play out across possible facilities. So a slight concern that if we dedicated a significant amount of funding to a certain part of a certain facility and had to reconfigure, what would that look like over time? So those were some things we talked about, as you'll recall, the first time through.
And then finally, for the field house for the athletic fields, really, it would be a permanent fixture. And but as it pertained to the explanation or the criteria of legacy, elementary commitment, and the purpose, it didn't seem to fit those. So rather than keeping the arrows blinking or the check marks
Can we
blinking,
change the page?
let's go to the next one.
Why are the arrows
We're so happy to move to that next slide.
We all throw them.
And they were red, which made it even. So really, we would like to propose a discussion, open to discussion to the Board of Ed regarding those proposals, proposals that fit, proposals that do not fit, and then the potential of any other suggestions to help guide our work as we consider this gracious gift from the McGowan family.
Right. We'll open up for some discussion here.
I think it's important to keep in mind her intent, and I think that this does that. And I think it's important to do something. I like the legacy gift of with the technology and the literacy type of focus in each of the elementaries. I think that would really suit her intent and suit her personal commitment to education and to the education of the younger children. I think, this is my personal opinion, but I think the scholarship is wonderful. I don't know what our best way to do the scholarship is. I'm wondering if a decent-sized scholarship to 1 or 2 students, and if we have a student who is an amazing student who comes into the high school, never went to one of our elementary schools, who really wants to be a teacher, maybe I think we have to look further into what's our filter on that. For a teacher, for someone who wants to go into teaching, or not. I don't know about that either. I'd like it to be a long-term scholarship. I don't want it to have an end point. I think if we can dedicate some funds to it, we could have it in perpetuity for a while. I think it's been pretty made clear to me from people in town that the field house is really it would be painful for some people if that was something that we used to be a legacy to her, because they feel that it is really not in her. It was not in her wheelhouse at all. So I think this is a great presentation. It's very helpful. I think it's very interesting to see, these ideas in a more specific way. And I feel the same way. I concur with you on the preschool. I think that's a really hard decision to make, as it won't affect all students, and that's something that I think this is supposed to be trying to affect as many students as possible. Those are my personal opinions.
Thank you.
Let's go down the row.
You want to go down? Do you want, you have here other suggestions. I know you have a lot of backup on each of these. How do you want
That
to?
was what was presented at the previous meeting.
Questions.
So
Right,
if there were
right.
any
Any
questions
questions?
regarding,
You all
and
have that in your
I think
backup slides.
what we had presented at the previous one around the scholarships was clear, like 10 years, 5 students. But that's exactly the kind of information that will help, make these decisions, because now, in this day and age, a larger scholarship to 1 or 2 students may be the better way to go. And exactly if a student didn't go to one of our elementary schools but is deserving of such of a scholarship, we should be, keep that consideration open. So that's the kind of discussion that we were hoping to have tonight.
I wasn't at the meeting where this was
Okay.
presented, so
Okay.
I didn't have a chance to see it. I think the logic makes a lot of sense. The backup, I hadn't seen the backup before, but under the Learning Commons backup, it strikes me that that does not fit the legacy, in that, within 10 years, the money's gone, right? And all the equipment at that stage is worn out, and so there's no lasting legacy in her name. I think the idea of the Learning Commons is a good idea, but, there's all that equipment basically at some point just wears out, and then there is no McGowan legacy beyond that point, right? The scholarships, let me back up. I guess it would be great to find a way to accomplish what I thought we understood that at least the one theme that we heard, which is that it would be something that we couldn't otherwise afford to do, and that would be create a legacy in her name in perpetuity. So I guess one side of me says, if you were to treat it as a normal investment fund, you'd invest that money and you'd spend only the interest off that money each year. And then it would create a legacy. But that changes the whole picture. In today's low interest rate environment, what is the total now? The total number was
479.
474
change.
If you invested it in something even reasonably aggressive, you might get 8%, something like that.
Just talking about the same thing. 7.
7%. So you're talking about what, $40,000?
Yeah, 30, 35, something like that.
Something
Yep.
like that. So, I do think that that's important if we can find a way to make it last so that it goes on in perpetuity. I thought that was one of the goals.
Okay.
So, I think they're all good ideas. But I think it would be important to try to find a way to make it last.
As long as we could.
Well, hopefully, something that would be a legacy investment, which to me means goes on forever.
Can we do that?
Well, in terms, just to start small, but with the same concept, we talked with the folks who administer part of our scholarships through, it's a private foundation trust. The McLean Fund actually has 22 sub-funds, and we could add a McGowan sub-fund that would be just using that interest and would be a lasting legacy. It's a difficult process to say exactly how much do you have to put in to get a set amount per year because of how they have to administer it. They have to spend 5%, they must pay out 5% of the fiscal year-end market value on an annual basis, but it's for all of these funds. But in just a simplified way, the answer that they gave us was, in a quick calculation of 3.5% return that they can spend on it, you'd have to put in about $150,000 up front to yield about $5,250 per year if you needed 5 scholarships in that range that we were looking at in perpetuity. And as you stated, you could set up another type of vehicle that perhaps had a different mission, but conceptually, yes, you could just spend the.
I didn't think we could.
I haven't asked specifically how to do this. This is already set up for this purpose, but I think there are private community foundations where you can set up a separate vehicle. I would have to research that further.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very
Well,
good.
and then if that were an ability to do that, because I thought we could do it for scholarships, but I didn't think we could do it for other monies. But if we could do that, then we could set up these labs in the libraries and smaller and add to those every year, because that is something that we can't do in our own budget. Those opportunities were something we could put in place without our own budget. That would be very cool.
Other thoughts?
So I kind of agree with Mike on this concept. I wonder what our time horizon is. So I don't feel a need to spend this money soon. I mean, I don't think that is something that we should be focused on. I like the ideas. I think most of them, other than the scholarship one, are capital plans, basically. And so I would be against using this money that way. I'm more inclined, and I know it's a question of figuring it out, but I don't just intuitively understand why we can't set up a trust somewhere, park the money, and you could look at how do you improve teachers? How do you send a teacher out to Columbia for a year? How do you do scholarships? You know, something that has a lot more staying power to me than these. These would be great, no question, but you're going to use them and they're gone. So that's how I view this.
I also like the idea of the perpetuity, the annuity, however you want to phrase it. I don't think buying an iPad, I know that's a great thing. I know people would welcome it. It would be a great addition to the classroom. I believe that wholeheartedly. I just think, it's a one-year hit. It's a 1 year of success. I do think some sort of annuity, some sort of fund. I also like the idea, I was thinking before you were saying, is some sort of helping a teacher with the continuing ed expense, or going back to school, or whatever that might be. I honestly don't know what it might be, but I think, again, back to that legacy.
I love the teacher thing. We still have to maintain. We have to do something for the kids, because that's
scholarships.
Well,
a
the
nice thing to do.
scholarship would be for the kids.
But that's not for the elementary kids, though.
Well,
hope they go to college.
If you are going to go to college to become an elementary, I think there's enough of a tie there that works. I like the idea of benefiting an elementary teacher. I think that's a great idea. It's something I hadn't really thought about, but I think that's a great way to loop it back to what was important to her. I had kind of the same thought initially. I was excited about the kind of the learning commons. I thought that was a fun thing. But then as I look at it, I just wonder, again, everything has a shelf life. Are we going to end up having some kind of a budget item to try to replace this down the road? And that's unfair to saddle people with 10 years. We make this decision and there's a different board in 10 years struggling with how to continue it. So I worry about that a little bit. But I do agree. We don't necessarily have to be rushed into a decision right now if we can provide for the money to be taken care of.
The other point, and I don't presuppose we're going to be as lucky as we were to have this, but if you put this money away, you might actually get more money. I mean, if people understand this is, this is going to have the staying power. It's a tuition. It's to help.
Taken care of.
The
They'll be taken
long-term
care of.
teacher is going to be here for a while, so that improves a lot of people. You might actually get other people to dump some money in it. That kind of thing.
No doubt.
You could really, if let's say you invest the money and you just, we set up a regular practice of reviewing each year, soliciting ideas and reviewing each year, and making decisions year by year. You could,
as long as you know the percentage that you were going to spend.
Yeah, then if the amount fluctuates, you can change it as well. But you could ask for submissions for ideas each year, and
reviewed,
and aimed at elementary school programming or arts programs or anything. And you might decide that one year you think it's a great idea to spend 10,000 of it to do something, to buy something, or it might be a great year to say, look, we think that this is a year we'd like to award some scholarships to a couple of students that are going on to pursue careers in elementary education. It would give us a lot of flexibility. It would be a little more work. But if we're only talking about the dividends, so to speak,
if we can do it,
we can keep doing that for
as long as we can do it. I mean, I know
legally.
there's legally.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing I would be
And that would
concerned
allow
about.
future boards the same flexibility as things change and evolve. And
Be awesome.
they might feel that it would be great to have $20,000 to spend on a terrific elementary arts program one year. I don't know. I just think provides a lot of flexibility to both the leadership and future leadership and future
So Burke,
boards.
how much research would you have to do to figure out if this is feasible, what we're talking
I
about?
don't think it would be hard.
Yeah,
I could get back to you at the next meeting.
Yeah, I don't think that's a.
And, if you set up a sort of the McGowan Scholarship Committee, you could have a couple people from faculty.
That gets you a larger and broader, to Sarah's point about people who know her and who are beneficiaries of her, teaching. You're going to draw some of them in.
For those of you that might remember, we used to have, like 15 years ago, I remember we started when Charlie Moret was here, the CEF, and that was the Simsbury Education Enhancement Foundation. And a lot of districts have already based foundations, where, and they've even gone into endowments in their school systems. So that is exactly to your point, where they would review every year, and they had to be, requests would come in, via, administration, from teachers or what have you, but it was reviewed by committee, and the portion of the money that was raised went back into the school system. So it's not as active as it used to be, but a lot of the foundations that are in the districts have even created endowment pieces with that. So it really has helped the school district, and it's something that has continued on.
I think it could present a lot of opportunity. An elementary school that wanted to improve their playground, they could submit a plan for it and get $10,000 toward that. I think that would be very appropriate.
Music arts programs, right?
And it would all be done perpetually under the McGowan Scholarship and
Right.
McGowan Foundation.
Right.
If it's legal to do that, I think that's great. I mean, that's
Let us,
definitely
with that
worth.
feedback, I mean, we can definitely go back and sketch out a process and do that research and come back and report.
Yeah.
The next year.
And again, there's no rush.
Yes.
It's just,
Guy who probably do this in half a
so we can just take our time and make sure we do it right.
Great.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, this was
And put in the
helpful.
filters that we want.
And, yeah,
Oh,
I
good.
do like, I do like the idea of doing a scholarship, if we can do that sooner than later, like maybe starting with next year's graduating class. Like, I don't want to put off so long that it feels like we're not acknowledging it in any way. So that if we could figure out a way to draw on a scholarship for maybe next year, that would be, I think that would be appropriate, kind of a first anniversary of our acceptance of the gift kind of a thing. And that's the only caveat I would put to setting the money aside, is figure out the parameters around that and make sure we give it out next year, at least a little.
And I think having, a named foundation or endowment, it gives a lot of credence to who she was, and gives credence to the belief of what she wanted for the school system, what she believed in. And I think those that are unfamiliar with her or what her gift really will mean will have a better influence, in the community. And for the teachers and parents and students is a very long-lasting legacy. It's something that you want to continue because, and who knows, if you could build it up over I think in 10 years.
I think that's great feedback
Very
for us.
helpful. It is very helpful.
To take away and come back with. So.
And the only thing, to your point, Lydia, is first of all, I really appreciate having the filters. And what we, another area we could continue to work on is, add even more elements to it that's very personal, unique to who she is. And, we can do that by, continuing to run it by people who really know her and had a passion for her. So.
Right. Absolutely. So I think by starting that, and I think you're right, in everything's continue it on, because that's what we do want to see, and I think that would be something that she would also want. All righty, does this give you enough to work
Very
with?
good.
So, all right, very good PowerPoint, very good presentation, especially the checks. But this was good to have. All right, moving on to Exhibit 7, criteria for considering naming rights, and that's
Sue.
Thank you.
So, as you recall, at our last Board of Education meeting, the board accepted a generous donation from the Simsbury Gridiron Club for $25,000 to be used for renovations and upgrades to the Simsbury High School Strength and Conditioning Room. And at that point, the president of the Gridiron, Dr. Girardi, also asked the Board of Education to consider implementing its naming rights policy, as through this fundraising had the option for a sole donation to be given to this project and really to complete the process of this renovation. So tonight what I want to do is just take a couple of minutes to share with you what the process is as per our policy. At that last Board of Ed meeting, you did vote to kind of establish the committee to start this process of looking at naming rights, and just want to give you an update of where we are and kind of a timeline over the next couple of weeks. So our policy does call for us to establish a committee. So we would bring that committee together in the next couple of weeks to discuss this proposal with, of course, the appropriate background information regarding the donor whose naming rights is being considered, with information from the Gridiron Club, but also speaking with that family directly. Our policy also requires us to have a public meeting, a public audience to get input regarding the naming rights before we bring a recommendation to the Board of Education. So the proposed committee membership, I would be the superintendent designee. Salina has also volunteered to be a part of the committee. Our policy does call for the principal to be a member of that committee. In this case, of course, that's Neil Sullivan. And we thought it really important to have the faculty member of Amy Muska, who is our K-12 PE director, to be a part of that. She has been a part of those discussions with the original proposal brought forth from the Gridiron Club. Also calls for a parent representative, and we thought Sheila Gishwin would be a great representative. All of these folks, they know that their names are being discussed this evening. Want to let you know that. They've said that they would be in with this process, but she's a Gridiron member at large. And a community member of Peter Pabich, who's the president of the Simsbury Rotary, who could provide a really nice, I think, a lens to looking at this proposal. It also requires, in our policy, student input, and thought it would be very appropriate for high school students to be named. So Dane Street, athletic director, has put together a leadership team of student athletes and student leaders. So they're recommending a female and male representative from that leadership team to also bring student voice to the committee. In the same way that we had just discussed some of the criteria, I thought it was, of course, very important to discuss what our criteria would be when we're having this discussion as a committee. And some of these criteria are taken directly from our policy, meaning the first one, that the name being considered is clearly identifying, widely known and recognized. So we would be certainly taking a look at that. Also the consistency with the Board of Ed mission and goals and how important that is. What's the purpose for the gift, and does that purpose align with what the board has stated are their core beliefs and their mission and vision for the Simsbury Public Schools? This whole concept of legacy, which I think is important when you're talking about naming rights. How does this gift promote lasting power over time and impact to our school system? And finally, taken directly from this policy regarding what is the actual nature of the naming rights, and to what degree and in which way will these naming rights be implemented, and certainly for how long. So these are some of the criteria that we'll be using as a committee to make this recommendation to you as the board. So next steps, we're actually going to have our first committee meeting on May 20th, so that's next week, coming up quickly, because I know some of these considerations and these donations, we would want to look at possible implementation over the summer months. We didn't want to wait too long. We will then get public input and feedback, and we'll be making that public notice for that meeting on May 29th. And we would like to come back to the Board of Education at our last meeting of the school year on June 10th with a recommendation regarding this naming rights.
Okay, got quite a quite a bit to do in a few weeks. All righty. Very good. Thank you. Look forward to hearing the results of the next two meetings. All right, we're now on to the proposed textbooks for 2014-15, and
Just got a lot of goodies
I have
over
a
there.
pile.
your pile gets
Making people a little nervous.
And I have some show and tell as well.
I've been around. Remember, Erin, when her pile of
Very
books were the
excited.
entire counter?
Yes, no.
Now.
We've been very strategic over the years, the 7 years I've been doing this work, to create a systematic plan for writing curriculum, implementing curriculum, purchasing text to support the curriculum as we go along. So most of these texts that I'm going to show you tonight are really, as we get into that 11th grade and 12th grade AP courses, what we're looking at. So I have a few things, and then I do want to really show you something because it's very cool when you start looking at the technology that now is embedded in these textbooks. So the first book for your consideration, and tonight is just the first review of the textbooks, and so they'll come back to you. Anybody will have the opportunity to take a look at the text. I have two vocabulary books for 10th grade and 11th grade vocabulary, and I will send them around, but if you have a QR code on your phone or iPad, this is a very new feature in the textbooks that kids can actually scan it. And I've been scanning them because I've been running around with my iPad showing everybody what it does. Even Mike Wade got here a little earlier tonight, and I had to show
What you were
him.
doing?
So if you have the app, but what I did find out when I was showing Mike is all the I've been showing everybody, so it historically saves it in here as well. So as this goes on, what you can do with the vocabulary books is that there's a set that reads the words, defines the words, uses the words in context, the 20 words in the chapter, which as educators, we don't spend that much time verbally going over. So if you think of kids and how connected they are, or young adults, to their technology, if you're on a bus ride, long bus ride, whether it's to Lakeville or different places, there are ways that you can actually hear the pronunciation done and done well and how it's used, because that's not something we spend a lot of time in classrooms doing. We talk about it being an adjective or that kind, but not so much. So it's very neat, and I won't bore you with it right now, but I will show you another one. So 10th and 11th grade vocabulary text with our new department supervisor, Georgia. I'll send those around to you. I'm going to save this one. These books are for AP Spanish, and there are workbooks, and these are, and you can see that on the books for AP Spanish, it actually is the digital edition. So mostly with these books, they will either stay in the classroom and kids will put all the stuff they need on their devices, or they will go home and they'll use their devices in school. So that's how teachers are explaining to me. So there's, and I'm not fluent in Spanish, but the textbook, grammar book, the
lectures.
lectures.
Erin, just a question.
Yes.
If they, and I know in this day and age they probably all do, but if they do not have some sort of an app-driven technology, can they access it from a computer?
Yes. It has all, you can go to the .com and
That's what I
get
just
all of
was
that.
curious
Absolutely.
about.
Absolutely.
And I think the important thing here, which if we notice here, it's Common Core Enriched Edition.
They are. And we are seeing more and more. And I'll talk about.
Right up to date.
So I will talk about that. Here is the textbook for AP Economics. And I actually was looking through this and ripping the pages because I was so excited.
You are very excited. You are very excited.
Things that make you happy, Erin.
Well,
Another QR code.
Okay, pass that one
QR
down.
code piece. She loves it.
The fact that, I love it. You can use that.
Saw that one.
So, and this is, let me just see, the book that's currently used in AP Economics is 16 years old. Wow. So here, we're talking.
How long will these last?
You think
16 years probably.
That's all I need.
we hope not.
And then this is the AP Biology. 10th grade AP biology book, and there is technology in this as well.
Did you rip any of those pages?
I did not rip.
Okay, good.
That book was, they were flimsy
So
pages.
is that strictly AP
Larry Blank.
biology, or will
Yes.
that go for our honors
They
biology?
actually use it for all levels, but this is going to be specifically for the AP biology right now, level 1. So that's what they're, it's, and this again, this is replacing a book from 2005, so 9 years of a book that we had. This is a book, I said, "Ugh, this is a heavy book, and I think this is one that will go home and or stay in the classroom and then other.
But not travel.
But not, it's way too heavy to travel. And then finally, the last text that I have to share tonight is the Algebra 2 text. And our Algebra 2 text, let me just tell you, the English vocabulary, I didn't tell you on those. Those vocabulary texts are replacing books from 1978 and 1980.
Oh, my.
I was just going to say
better.
I wish you hadn't told us that, but I'm glad you told
So
us.
those vocab apps that my kids already have for SAT work, they can get rid of those and they can get these.
They can do, yeah. But the Algebra 2, we've worked over the last 4 or 5 years really increasing the rigor and the expectations, the problem-solving opportunities for kids as they move through our pre-algebra, algebra, geometry. We've purchased a few years ago textbooks for Algebra 1. Last year, we purchased the geometry text, and this year is the Algebra 2. Again, the Algebra 2 is for all levels of Algebra 2, and this is, we literally just got this yesterday because it, the text that they had before, and I think I might have explained this, and we waited a little bit of time, was basically just new pages stuck into an old textbook. This is fresh off, not even, it just came out to schools yesterday. So this is, our teachers took a look at this and were very excited because they had written their own unit for some entry level work in Algebra 2, and this aligns very nicely with it and supports it. And I think the other piece that's very exciting about the work that we do is that we write the curriculum, we think about it, we talk about it, we write it, and then we look at what resources will support it. We don't purchase the text and then write the curriculum. So this is not the only, there are other things that will be utilized, but again, this has some technology, a QR code in here as well. So
I scan that page, and what does it do? Bring me problems to problems?
Okay.
Now I'm sorry.
Boy, that was teed up well.
That's why Erin and I get along so well.
This one has stem cells in it. I'm pretty sure the old biology books don't.
Probably not.
Probably not.
So this is the vocabulary, and this happens to be Unit 1, and we will see what we get.
Is your volume up?
This is cool.
Acquisitive. Acquisitive. Acquisitive is an adjective meaning able to get or retain ideas or information. Here are a few ways in which acquisitive can be used.
So it's
a few.
And it goes
Pretty
through.
cool.
That is
So you
very
scan the QR code and that
Very
happens.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty
And I've
cool.
got the history of it, too. So if you want to see any other one, I have them all here.
Oh, we'll chat later.
Now I know I get so
I don't know what the
excited.
kids think, but I'm excited about it.
I'm very excited.
Do you think this would make it easier for you if you had had this year, Mallory?
I definitely think so, yeah. I mean, I'm in Algebra 2 right now, and my teacher doesn't even use the textbook
Yeah.
that we have. He, like, makes up his own problems or whatnot.
Yeah.
And for English as well, our teacher gives us the book and is like, all right, the quiz is on this day, and we have to figure out how we want to study. So I think having, like, the digital stuff would be very helpful.
Yeah. And what they do on this one, for example, this is a vocabulary, because in the vocabulary text, it has not only the words, but then you can get a quiz, and you can take the quiz, you can retake the quiz, and that's, the math is like that as well. It gives you the quizzes so that you can self-check yourself, and it will tell you, no, the answer's wrong, and it will tell you the right answer. So the opportunities for kids that are plugged in, it's not mandatory, but you know, I just think of kids that are sports kids that are on buses, or kids that are, you know, just have their earphones in, that, boy, if I had vocabulary words that I could listen to over and over, I think they would have, the more you hear, the
Sure.
more you learn,
Yeah.
and to have it
That's great.
and it really differentiates. It meets the needs of a lot of different kids.
So we would have these for next school year?
Great.
They'll start, if these are approved in 2 weeks, we'll continue to be writing the curriculum, but then they'll be using them as resources in which to help write the curriculum as well.
Great.
I mean, we took a huge hit to our textbook budget over the last few years when we were trying so hard to keep our budgets down.
Right.
So it was even further down than we wanted to go, but so it's exciting to get to a point where we can start building our base again.
It is, and again, what you get, with a text is that you have the print media, but you also get this electronic
Interactive.
piece and interactive piece to it as well. I don't know that the print text will go away ever completely, but I think there's different ways in which we'll use it. But I love the fact that they, may use them in class and not have to take them home, or take them home, leave it at home, and not have to transport it. It gives a lot more choice and opportunity to kids, so you're not lugging books that heavy around.
Lighter backpacks.
Great.
So we'll come back in 2 weeks, and those will be available if anybody wants to pick them up.
Very good.
Or you love it.
Great. Well, I can see, look at all of us, as if we've never.
Enthusiastic.
Was that
Excellent,
Look at-
excellent
look at-
presentation.
Best I've ever.
You've gotten us all so excited. Look at all of us. We are just looking through these textbooks, as if we've never seen a textbook before. Maybe some of us, it's been a while, so that's great. Good.
It's like the first day of school.
Absolutely. And the book is the property of, I'm still there. So.
You gonna put your name in it, Lynn?
No, I'm not going to do that. So, thank you. That's great. All right, we are now on to the second reading, the policy second reading, Exhibit 9.
So Lydia, at our last Board of Ed meeting, first reading regarding 2 policies, physical activity and student discipline, as well as homebound instruction. And I know, Mr. Wade, you had the question regarding teacher intent and related to the physical activity and student discipline. And to what degree do we have discretion regarding that intent? And I did follow up with legal counsel, and they said that, as with any policy in regarding discipline, we do have that discretion. So he did not feel that that was a concern at all as far as the wording of this, and that wouldn't limit our decision making or impact one way or the other, and felt that that was protected.
Is the wording from the statute, or is this our wording?
The wording is from statute, but it's legal counsel's recommended wording from that statute.
So this is as drafted by council?
Correct.
Same for the other piece too, because that was one of my
Correct.
questions as well. It's like,
Yes.
who's the author? The author is our council, not the state.
Correct. Nor Sue Lemke. Fully vetted through our legal counsel.
All right, take a look if you have any further questions. All right, this is it.
I just,
You still do.
I don't like it. I mean, I see these words as a directive that you cannot discipline by doing the following. Whether you intend to discipline or not. If you do this, you're disciplining.
Well, I think we have discretion about what we're calling discipline.
I agree. I'm
not
more
what this says.
concerned that when the parent of the child who is on the other end of this says, you disciplined my kid, whether you meant to do it or not, because you did this. That's the piece I worry about, is we're going to be accused of doing something. A teacher is. Completely benign conduct. And a parent is going to come in and say, you have violated my child's rights by doing what you did.
Which would be what? Give me a scenario. I'm like, I wasn't here for the...
That you either force them to stay in.
Right.
To have a
Don't-
conversation.
Don't go out. Stay with me for 15, 20 minutes.
Catch up on yesterday's lesson you missed, right? I mean, something even innocuous, something,
And it's going to be accused of discipline. The conduct will become the action will become a conduct that constitutes discipline, I guess is the best way to put it. The benign action of, I want to talk to you. Chris, stay with me for half an hour. Chris's parents come in and say, Mr. Wade, you did a bad thing.
And our interpretation of that is that, in that example, certainly the concept of a teachable moment and having a discussion and
I agree 100% with what you're saying.
Yes.
I'm just saying if this becomes part of the policy document, it then becomes a standard by which someone else can judge conduct.
It's part of statute, though, too.
Right.
I agree. That's why I'm asking how the wording came about, because I don't have the statute, and if Tom's
Okay.
blessed. So I mean, that's my point of this. I just, when I read that language, it's a directive from the board that you can't do this because this is disciplining in a way that's not allowed.
So it's the word prohibits that bothers you.
I guess I would flip this around a little bit and say you must allow for a certain amount of time. And it gives discretion a different way. The way I read this, and
Do you have
Tom,
that stat?
No.
I don't think we're going to be able to solve it. Maybe
No.
the conference call between
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. If you, So that gives us something to look at in terms of what we have to have in place to meet the requirement rather than define it in the negative or in the...
Yeah, I mean, look,
Right.
I understand what you're saying.
I understand exactly where you're going with
Yep.
it. I just worry that this becomes a standard by which someone's going to accuse us of something, and they're going to say, we've defined disciplining, or you prevent this, we've defined that to mean disciplining, and we're saying you can't do that. And the can't do is not give the minutes, so to speak, whether you intended it or not.
You can frame that.
Certainly we can.
Yep. Okay.
And bring it back.
Will that work?
Yeah, no, I mean,
forward with that? Yeah. No,
if
that,
you
I
have an
get what you're
explanation
saying.
around
Well,
it,
that's a good
fine.
point,
I'm
so
happy
that-
to rely on that.
if we're still,
Right. So you just don't, at the end of the day, you don't want our hands to be tied and a parent to really push and say, you have a policy and you're not implementing the policy. Even though
I don't
we've
want to. I don't want to blind trap some teacher with completely altruistic and
good intent.
laudable goals
Right.
gets caught doing something that is a problem.
Okay. Thank you.
all righty, so we will hold off
Wasn't to vote.
It was just
on
a
that.
second
Yeah, it's a
reading.
second reading, so we'll hold off on that till you have the information, then let us know. So let's move on to Exhibit 10, which is the first reading.
Now we have some first reads of the two policies that were vetted initially through our subcommittee meeting. The first is around FMLA, and the second is around attendance. So I just want to take a couple of minutes to highlight those changes. There were some regulatory changes regarding our FMLA, which led to legal review of our policy overall. And from that review, it resulted in 4 recommended changes. The first is the removal of any language pertaining to civil unions, which is, effective in some of our policies, and certainly this is one. The second is some language regarding military leave provisions, so you'll find that reflected in this policy. The third is that we anticipate from the Department of Labor some changes around eligibility regarding our paraprofessionals, and that there is some anticipated change that paraprofessionals who work 950 hours over the course of the year will be eligible for FMLA. We have in the policy that wouldn't be effect until these Department of Labor changes do come into effect, but we know that they are in the pipeline, so have them written in there accordingly. And the fourth proposed legal change is regarding how we calculate FMLA eligibility, really using a rolling back method. So what that means is that when an employee requests a family medical leave, that we use their date of request as the starting point to really look back that 12-month period and make that the date of examination. So for example, if someone broke their leg on March 17th and FMLA was requested, we would use March 17th as the date from, for example, March 17th of 2014 and look back in rears to March 17th of 2013, as opposed to kind of more of a school calendar kind of issue. So those are the 4 high leverage kind of major changes that you'll find reflected in FMLA. The second is regarding attendance, and the major changes in attendance really have to do around legislation adoption and further definition regarding excused absences versus unexcused absences. And in our policy, which dates back as far as the excused absence piece to 1985, the recent legislation has really given a finer point as to what excused and what's unexcused. I think what's really important, and we had a very meaty discussion at our subcommittee, is regarding communication of some of these changes to our parents as well as our students. But really just to kind of give you a high leverage overview, for excused absences, basically any absences numbers 1 through 9 for students will be excused by a parent for almost virtually any reason. What will be different is that, typically parents will call in when their child is absent, and that is sufficient notification. Legislation does require not only a call, but also written notification. So again, absences 1 through 9, those are more of, for the sake of a better term, freebies, okay? After 9, when we get 10 or above, there are stipulations and definitions around what constitutes an excused absence. Personal illness certainly still remains as a reason for excused absence, but it may require additional level of dialogue and, quite frankly, documentation to be considered excused. So that is really the most major change regarding this attendance policy. You'll also know that there's truancy definitions that are included in this attendance policy. Those definitions don't change. But what, again, how this is connected is that if an absence isn't excused, then it's considered unexcused. And then there are connections with unexcused absences and truancies. So a lot of wording certainly around this, but that's really the differences in a nutshell that I wanted to bring before the board this evening.
This will be a good one to take a look at and kind of digest, as I just mentioned before, that this was a very big bill that was debated back and forth. Some of the districts, this will help very much so in some areas that do not have it as complete that we have here. So.
And Lydia, I think with any policy such as this, that it is around communication.
Absolutely.
How do we tee that up for families? How do we share that with them? How do we share the intent behind this and communicate effectively for as smooth an implementation as we possibly can imagine?
I know legislature will be looking at some best practices of some districts to share with other districts that could benefit from this. So we'll see. All right, very good. So we'll bring that back for the second reading at our next meeting. All right, we're now at our second public audience. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the board may do so. Please state your name and address.
Eric Keegan from 18 Westwood Drive. I just attended tonight's session because I'm trying to finish my master's degree in educational leadership, so.
Good. Good. Welcome.
Excellent.
Congratulations.
How do you do? Very well. It's interesting.
Welcome, and we welcome you back again. So,
all right,
always,
thank you.
Very, very good. Always a different agenda.
Yes.
So, good. And Mallory, thank you for attending this evening. So it's good to have you. All right. With that being said, I would like a motion to leave for executive session to enter into discussion of the evaluation of the superintendent. Motion, second.
Second.
All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, we will now adjourn for executive session. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, May 27th, here in the conference room. And a big thank you, shout out to SCTV for filming our meetings continuously. Thank you and good night.